Greetings, horror hounds. It's time for another episode of Shawn's Horror Favorites, where today we're going to be discussing Friday the 13th, Part 2. Originally released in 1981, it seems like it was the inspiration for the Wrong Turn series, as we have a very, very hillbilly style Jason. Uh, can I get an intro? That's right, Friday the 13th, Part 2. Released about a year after the original, it follows a new camp being opened across the lake from the original Crystal Lake, opened up by Paul Holt and his assistant, Ginny. The premise of the movie is they're trying to open up a new campground across the lake, and they run into the same issues that they had in the original movie, where everyone is being stalked by a precise, angry genius of a killer. And I say that very loosely because when you run into Jason later on, it's it's definitely something to behold. This has got to be like the clumsiest iteration of Jason I have ever seen. Just the movements, like the entire time, it's just the POV shots. It's like the killer seems very calculating and very precise in when he decides to come and attack. Like in the beginning, when he's stalking Alice, you get this menacing presence you don't see, and like there's an air of unease the entire time you're following Alice throughout the house. And when she's killed, it's like they would. He even put Mrs. Voorhees' head in the refrigerator for her to find. It's so calculating and crazy and creepy. And when you see Jason later on in this movie, it's not like that at all. It seems like the music doesn't match what's happening. It's more like a slapstick country bumpkin style chase scene. It's hilarious. Instead of the amazing score by Harry Manfredini, it should have been something more like this. anyway, enough of just the bungling Jason Voorhees. Let's talk about some of our protagonists, shall we? Paul Holt is, you know, kind of a dick. Like he's he's more or less of like the big macho jock dude that just when he's telling the story about Jason intentionally trying to scare them, he's going through everything just knowing that it could potentially scare the crap out of these kids because again the majority of them are kids, while at the same time he's oogling his assistant Jenny, who is a psychiatry major who can't see what he's doing when he's manipulating her. One of the scenes that I find hilarious is when she wakes up the next morning after they've supposedly done, you know, after they spent the night together. Uh, he writes on the mirror, "Beware of bears." Like I said, he's kind of a dick. Then you have Ginny, who is very idealistic, very. In the beginning, she seems a little naive, falling for Holt's crap, but she proves to be a very strong-willed woman when she's avoiding the attacks of Jason Voorhees. Not that that would be very hard considering how fucking clumsy he is in this movie. Uh, it, like I said, like her chase scene, you could have been, you could have tripped several times and been able to get away from this guy because he was just so sloppy. But that's the fun of this particular movie. Like seeing where they go with it. It's they didn't have the design of Jason down yet. In fact, like they weren't even really planning on any more sequels after this unless it was an anthology. But ultimately, you also had the other counselors there that were really just there to be bodies for Jason to kill. But what I found interesting about this movie was they took the sexual energy and went way farther with it than part one did. Every instead of just a couple of them pairing off, you had more and more pairing off. It was simply amazing. It's like when you had Mark and I believe what was her name in the movie? Vicky. When you had Mark and Vicky interacting, and he was talking about how his legs no longer work, but he was still able to go. that was his that was like his in, because she was already like far out into him. I swear that this girl must have had like, I mean, not for nothing, he's a handsome dude. I mean, so what if he was in a wheelchair? Handsome dude is handsome dude. Plus, you had the couple that you were following at the beginning of the movie, Cassandra and Jeff, that were very, very into each other. Although you didn't really get to see a lot of that, especially during their death scene when they're in the midst of having sex. And he busts in. Originally, that scene was supposed to be a hell of a lot longer. Uh, One, you were supposed to see her topless. Uh, Actually couldn't happen legally because she had lied about her age, and she was actually 17 at the time. So they had to more or less keep her covered. That's one of the reasons why they added the part where Terry comes out of the water and you see like her bare boobs for like a second, just to kind of give like horror hounds their fill of breasts. But the scene where Jeff and Cassandra die, it was originally a lot more graphic. Like it was supposed to be Jason comes in, pushes the spear down, and Cassandra's literally trying to push Jeff off of her as he's being stabbed, and it's growing through to her, but it looks so bad. Like you could definitely tell Tom Savini was not the special makeup effects artist for this one. It literally looked like a dummy body being poked, which it was, but it wasn't supposed to look like that. It was supposed to look a lot better. I will say Friday the 13th Part 2 definitely ushered in the era of Jason in completely the wrong way. They definitely could have done more with it. I'm not saying it's the worst movie in the world. However, it's certainly not the best Friday in the franchise. But still, I'm gonna say it's definitely better than Part 8 or Jason Goes to Hell. And even though I make fun of the bungling Jason, it's still a fun watch, and I do recommend it for people. Oh, and one more note. Sadly, it's the last Friday the 13th in which we will see the best mayor in Crystal Lake history, Crazy Ralph. May he rest in peace. You're all doomed. You're all doomed. Thank you for listening to this episode of Shawn's Horror Favorites. Good night.